Thank you. Let's see if this works. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming, and thank you for inviting me, Bill. As most of you know, I'm the director of the Cohen Gallery on Main Street here in Alfred, and I've been running the gallery for 3 years. At the gallery, our programming is geared to give alumni the opportunity to exhibit and curate shows. We show faculty work and visiting instructors' work from time to time as well. Participation in a show is a great way for alumni to come back to town and not only share experiences through the exhibition, but often they will give career talks, studio visits, and have the opportunity to informally interact with the students. The gallery is run by a crew of current Alfred University students who gain hands-on experience in a professional gallery setting. They learn how to maintain a gallery, unpack and pack work, return work, and run opening. Without our interns, we would not be able to present such excellent shows. So if any of you out there are interested in joining the gallery team, you can contact me. Our current show is called Self-Same, and it's a solo exhibition of Ashley Lyon's ceramic sculpture and photographs. Ashley is the Turner Teaching Fellow in Ceramics, and the exhibition is open until December 4th. And I invite you all to her gallery talk next Thursday. Unfortunately, it's at 12 o'clock, so it would overlap with the forum here. But the gallery is open Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 11 to 5. My other role at Alfred this semester is teaching the hybrid vessel class as well as the sophomore wheel class. And then on the side, or in my spare time, I have my own practice, and I work within the format of the vessel. My earliest obsession with clay revolved around the wheel, making functional pottery for the home and food. In graduate school here at Alfred from 2007 to 2009, I began to divide vessel forms and approach them as individual parts into a pattern. The idea of multiplicity, monoculture, and field came into play while still relating to the vessel form as an essential component to living and being. This is my thesis exhibition, Convivium. The 40-foot-long table holds 15,000 half-goblet forms and suggests a feast, a celebration, and a coming together. The installation was custom to the Palladian Room, or as we know it, the Shine Joseph International Museum of Ceramic Art. After graduate school, the need was to essentially make smaller work so I could begin showing and sending my work around the country. In this body of work, I focus on the silhouette and contour line, creating simple yet elegant forms that can be placed together in smaller arrangements with the suggestion of the infinite. I am sensitive to the read of the pieces and how color and form work together to make a three-dimensional composition. I design the components in the composition in a way in which the objects can be arranged and poised into shifting existences. I also aim to transcend the autonomy of the vessel form to create collectives, suggesting synchronicity or utopic potential of the collective. My work is primarily slip cast using modular mold techniques, so every time the mold is used, it is rebuilt and reconformed. Typically in industry, molds are used in serial production to make the same exact piece over and over. But I use the casting process for its efficiency, but work variables into the system of making. You can see the different mold systems here, 2 particular types. The aesthetic of the work is heavily informed by the model and mold making process. But using molds in my studio also allow me to multitask and employ the help of studio assistants. My studio runs on a balance of wholesale designs, custom commissions, and work similar to the previous images which I show in galleries and craft boutiques nationwide. More recently, I've been researching and working to develop new glaze approaches and surface pattern that will add a complexity to the austere forms. So instead of using the dimensional form in repetition, I'm developing surface patterns to apply. Last May, I was invited by my cousin to join her for a Hindu wedding in Delhi, India. I jumped at the chance to travel and took it on as a research trip to consider the objects, craft, and culture of these exotic places as inspiration for new directions in pattern. Last week's Berggren Forum featured poet Ben Howard, and he read a quote that really struck a chord for me as I was in the audience and envisioning myself up here. The quote is from Shido Bunan. "Then do what you will, all will be well." This is wait a second. "While alive, be a dead person, thoroughly dead. Then do what you will, all will be well." And he interpreted it as this openness and a way to be in the world where you're open to the unfamiliar, not judging, absorbing, and experiencing. And that's really how I try to be when I travel, especially in foreign countries where all is different, is to embrace the difference and take it on as a learning experience. Our trip began in Delhi shopping for a sari to wear to the wedding. And just the experience of being in the shop with the attendees unfolding these 9-meter long sari fabrics was really amazing. Looking at all the patterns, the types, the colors. It's a very colorful culture. This is the sari I ended up wearing. It's a magenta pink with a traditional gold thread brocade pattern. And traditionally the saris are silk, but the newer version are polyester or gauze-like material, and also in my price range. Under the sari is a blouse or a jacket that's embroidered, and then a tighter skirt underneath that where the sari tucks into. So there's no pins or buttons or zippers. It's all draped and folded around the body. So point A is Delhi and point B is Agra, where the Taj Mahal is. So after our sari shopping extravaganza, we decided to go visit the Taj Mahal. And initially we thought we would drive there, which was a terrible idea because the chaos of the streets and the way the rules or no rules apply is very different than here. Often there would be 3 lanes of traffic or 3 lines painted on the road, but 4 or 5 lanes of traffic. And only the car horns to determine who is turning or who should stop or who should go. So these images are images of mercantile and fruits and vegetables being sold street side in Agra. And it is true that cows and dogs and donkeys roam free in the roads in Delhi. Also, more specifically, the more rural you get. So I thought this was a perfect illustration of that sort of respect of nature, and then also the machine just standing in harmony here on the road. We arrived at the Taj Mahal at 5 a.m. to see the marble and how it was influenced by the sunrise and changing colors of the sky. We watched it turn pink and orange, gray, and blue. The Taj Mahal was built from 1632 to 1653 by the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan. And this is a mausoleum for his wife who passed away in childbirth. So it was totally made out of love, his passion for her. She was his favorite wife. And this is her, she and he are both buried underground from the main mausoleum. The Taj is designed in complete symmetry, including the gardens and outbuildings surrounding. There's a guest house on either side and a promenade of a reflecting pool leading up to the building. It is made of white marble and embellished with semi-precious stone inlays of alabaster, turquoise, obsidian, jasper, and malachite. And the marble was carved, creating a gouged area for the stones to be fit in and glued with some kind of ancient secret recipe. This is a remodeled area. The dome of the Taj is about 115 feet tall. The 4 minarets on each corner are angled away from the central form about 2 degrees so that in case of an earthquake, they would not fall into the Taj Mahal and destroy it. They would fall away from it. Along with the stone inlay is carved marble into a bas-relief, mostly flowering plants and trees. Also around the Taj, it's all paved with marble or red sandstone, and I was very interested in this pattern coming from the shapes and how it gives an illusion of dimension on the flat plane over the distance. This is the type of design I would like to bring into my work. This is one of the side buildings that was used as a guest house, and also with inlaid design and carved pieces. This is looking up into the dome. Most of the outbuildings are not restored there, but have a nice balance of preservation with the natural decay and wearing of the stones. The other historic location in Agra that most tourists go to is the Agra Fort, and this was the stronghold and the home to many emperors since the 11th century. And I think only about 25% of the fort is open for tours. It's just huge. And Shah Jahan's contribution to the fort was predominantly the white marble, whereas most of the other older parts of the fort is the red sandstone. So he took as much pride and much attention and as many riches to add on to the fort as he did build the Taj Mahal. He was known for building monuments and temples. He was, at the time, was the most powerful and wealthiest emperor in the world. I was really interested to see the niches in shape in these vessel forms and these tile shapes. They're recessed into the surface about 4 inches or so, kind of related to those sliced up vase forms that I make. There's also a lot of open work or screen made out of the marble, and this would be open to the outside. Airflow is really important in the living quarters because it gets so hot in the summer, and actually when we were there at the end of May, early June, it was very slow. There was not a lot of people at the Taj. There was not a lot of tourists around because it is so hot that time of year. It was in the upper 90s and very humid as well. But I'm interested. I thought I would go there and draw. I thought, okay, I'm going to fill up a sketchbook. I bought a new sketchbook and took it there with all those intentions, but just looking and observing and absorbing was more important to me than putting my pen to paper at the time. So luckily I was able to capture a lot of these things in photographs, and then I'm able to revisit them now and really take the time to notice in this particular picture some of the overlapping patterns that are formed from the light coming through the screen or through an opening on another wall, and how the patterns on the floor and screen are interacting together. This is a shower. This is one of the earliest examples of indoor plumbing. So to take a shower, you would stand in the little basin and the water would be pouring down the panel that's in the chevron pattern, and you would lean against that surface with your back against the wall and become wet that way. Here's another example of white marble tile and tessellation. And I love the way that, again, there's a balance or a tension maybe between the wearing down and the grit of something old with something as pure as white marble. So here the marble is not cleaned. It's touched a lot, so it's maybe oily from our hands. But that contrast that's developed is really beautiful. And the oldness. This is around the entrance to the Taj. This is at the Agra Fort, so this image shows many repairs to the same same domed ceiling over many, many years. So different techniques, different materials are applied and plastered together to create a collage of time and material and technique. This is the only portion of the Agra fort in white marble that shows the original luster and paint. It's probably a 3-foot long section, and it was up in one little corner just to show the opulence and the richness of the time. The Sanskriti Foundation is a studio, open-air museum, and international residency program that I researched before I went to Delhi, just to check out. They were out of session because of the season, but they do have a ceramics program there. I believe they also have writing retreats. And it's set up like a park. The outdoor museum, it's just open air, open structures, and they feature bronze work, fabrics, and also ceramics. These are called Bankura horse sculptures, and they're larger than life, hand-built in sections, and fired and then constructed here, constructed in place most likely. Bankura is in the West Bengal region of India, and the larger, more traditional pieces are built in place and fired in place as well. So the kilns are actually built around the figures. This is part of the foundation grounds, also a place for performances and events. Clay is often used on exterior and interior of houses in India because of the climate. This is a typical clay screen found in farmers' homes in Sargurja. And often the screens are made, the larger sections are made of bamboo or sticks and then coated with this mud or clay. I learned that every year, once a year after the harvest, there's a Churta festival where the houses in the Sargurja district are repainted and repaired with a white clay paint. And this is actually just a section of the house in the Sanskriti Foundation Museum. So the foundation is highlighting the traditional crafts from around the country, in particular the clay. And there's a strong tradition of pottery making, brick making, and then of course the clay sculptures and also homes. The night before the wedding at the Sangeet, all of the women participated in a Mendi ceremony, or the henna paste that's designed and painted onto the hands. And these are my hands. I had henna on both sides. And henna is a paste that comes from a plant that stains your skin. It darkens over the first couple of days that it's on your hands, and then will slowly fade over the course of about 2 weeks after that. This is the bride's henna, and she has it all the way up to her elbows. Often the groom's name is hidden in there, along with other wishes and blessings, symbolism. We were told that the darker the Mendi, the more the mother-in-law will love the bride, and the richer the love between the bride and the groom. The colors and costuming was just really beautiful, very colorful, very bright. Not only with the bride, but all of the guests had colorful saris, beautiful scarves, jewelry everywhere you can wear it. This is the bride Aditi. She's wearing a traditional Hindu outfit. We were also told that as long as the henna designs were still visible on the skin, the bride is not required to do any housework of any kind until it wears off. So it's kind of like a honeymoon period. Similarly are the chora, or the red bangles, which are a symbol of a newly married bride, but also something to keep her from doing heavy housework. And traditionally they would wear the chora bracelets for about a year, but now it's 40 days. These are her feet. So my cousin is friends with Aditi, the bride, who was born in India and raised in the U.S., but married an American. They decided to get married in India because all of her family was back in India at the time. So this is Nick, the groom, and he's mounting the elephant to make his grand entrance. And this is a traditional procession called the Barat. It's the procession for the groom to make his entrance. Nick rode in on an elephant, but a groom may also ride in on a white horse. And there was a whole band of drummers and dancers preceding him as he came in. This is part of the entourage with these umbrellas made of flowers and ribbon. These are the grannies and the aunties preparing a blessing for the groom before he enters. Aditi is the first daughter of the family, so this is probably the most important wedding in that family and of her generation. So I think they, although it was shortened, the ceremony was shortened, some things were modernized. I think it was a very special ceremony, blended with a little bit of Christian ritual. The Saptapadi, or 7 steps, is the main ceremony in a Hindu wedding, and it represents 7 wedding vows that spell out promises that the bride and groom make to each other. As the 7 steps are taken around the fire, or the dress gets tied to the scarf, and 7 steps are taken around the fire, and the fire is considered the primary witness of the marriage. The tying of the fabrics represent their bond together. The wedding, so I was in India for about a week, a little over a week, and then after India, we traveled to Bali, and we spent the first couple of nights on a small island south of Bali called Nusa Lembongan. And it's a very small island. You have to take a ferry there. There's not many cars once you get there. And this is just to get the beach experience. I highly recommend it. We weren't there for long, but we enjoyed the food very much, the fresh fish and some snorkeling. They have pristine waters and pristine coral reefs. So we spent most of our time in Ubud, which is a little bit inland. And Bali is a southern island in the chain of Indonesian islands. It's a little paradise of Hinduism within a primarily Muslim country. And Ubud is considered the cultural capital of Bali. Seemed to have a great balance of religion, tourism, and nature and craft. The first thing I noticed about the surroundings in Ubud were the handmade offerings or tributes that are on every doorstep or intersection of path. They're small little baskets, probably about 5 inches, and they hold rice, devotional gifts, incense, cake, fruit, and flowers. These are called kanang sari. And they're really beautiful. They go back to the earth. They get trampled on eventually and run over, but they're sort of a natural flow of these fresh ones, and then some pieces composting back into the ground. It's a ritual of giving back to the gods, and it's not based on fear but on gratitude to the richness of life. The offerings appease the spirits and bring prosperity and good health to the family. I became obsessed just with the craftsmanship of these, the colors, the variety, not only what was put in them as offerings, but also some of the patterning and the form, the sculptural qualities of these pieces. They're mostly made of banana leaf or grasses, and then in this case there's some plastic decoration stapled to it. also in fabric. The offerings when we were there were particularly opulent because of the celebration of Gulungan, and this happens about every 200 days in the Balinese culture. And we were there for one of the larger celebratory days, so everything was decorated. Everything had offerings on them, including the motorbikes that were used to get to the temple. The penjor are these long bamboo poles that are decorating the streets, and they're about, I don't know, very tall, maybe 50 feet tall. They're decorated and made with coconut leaves, colored papers, and tassels. I also became obsessed with these and photographed many of them. They represent the dominance of good over evil, as well as offering thanks to the gods for the fruits of the earth. The families would really take pride in crafting these and making these as a representation of the wealth and prosperity of their family. We were able to visit some rice terraces, and from what we learned, there's very few or no exporting of rice outside of Bali. They feed their own people first, and there's a blend of Thai rice and Balinese rice, and the Balinese rice is becoming more and more rare because it's just a little less productive or harder to grow. It was really beautiful. We were able to hike up, hike down into the valley of the terrace and then hike back up. And we met the farmer. We had a really great tour guide, and this was some friends of his, so he took us to their house. This is the main cooking area. It's essentially the kitchen. Terracotta roof tiles and with the water pot sitting outside of the house. But this is where they would cook, and then the bedroom was in a separate building, like a three-sided building, just outside. And I really I love the simplicity of it. You know, in some ways, I wish my life could be this simple too. And this is the cooking hearth. It was very similar to the stoves we saw in India too, very close to the ground or on the ground with the firewood above. The traditional Balinese thatching that's found on the roofs is called alang, and is made of layer after layer of natural leaves that can last up to 12 years. So often the interior structure is made of bamboo and has a really interesting pattern in itself. This is the more expensive style where the black strands come from the trees of coconuts. So many layers of this like coconut hair is laid over the structure of the roof. This is the Lotus Temple in Ubud. Temples of all sizes are found around Ubud and Bali. Each family has a temple, each village has a temple, and there are also important historic temples. So on every street there will be multiple temples, which adds another beauty to the architecture. When I returned from the trip, I had the opportunity to go to a short residency at the Red Lodge Clay Center in Montana, and because it was a short residency, my main objective was to work with some of these images or develop patterns from the photographs. So my first inclination was to look at these as a tile grid pattern or break it down into grids. And this is just some of the in-progress drawings as my work table at the time that I started to develop from that. I'm also working on a black on black glaze palette where I'll be able to overlay some of these more precise graphic and geometric patterns onto the glaze, which will then move in the kiln and distort the pattern a little bit. So I'm working to try to create sort of a rigid pattern that will then interact with some of the chemistry in the kiln and the heat. And then the semester started, and I don't know what happened, but everything sort of slowly unfolding and developing now. So I'm hoping that that this new body of work can get a good, strong start once the semester ends, and I'm looking forward to it. That's the conclusion of my presentation, and I would love to take any questions. Sort of a lot of information in there, but if you have any questions about my work